Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another movie review. Recently, I just saw The Monuments Men, which has an absolutely stellar cast. I thought it was truly phenomenal. Of course, it got a lot of mixed reviews, but I still think that it's really a rather fantastic film. It's absolutely fabulous. And the lesson in the movie is very good as well. And me being the World War II buff, I just ate it up. Um, of course, they don't sugarcoat the war at all, or the loss of some of the priceless works of art that occurred. And I actually learned something, but apparently Hitler failed fine art when he was in class, and I thought, that may have something to do with his with his drive and his ambition and his obsession to acquire and possess that much art to begin with. And secondly, he was unbalanced for another thing, and he just wanted to destroy culture altogether, and that would have prevented a lot of people from being truly educated well, I think. Art's important. A lot of people don't agree with that. There are people say, oh, who needs the arts, or who needs entertainment, who needs this and that and the other. Speaking from my background as a liberal arts major, I have to say that it is necessary in this world, especially if you want to spell correctly, use grammar correctly, speak correctly, in any language other than your native tongue. And actually, I can speak Spanish, although it's very rusty. I speak very slowly and deliberately, and I always have to tell them, please much slower, so I can speak to you more freely. I know I speak like a child, but please bear with me. And it's worse in French, but at least I can read in French. I can understand the gist of something if I look at it, because I understand Latin. I only have basic Latin ability since I took A&P, and I understand a little bit of Greek, not to speak it, but just to read, and where all these root words come from. If you understand the basis of all rudimentary language, then it's really not that difficult. But sorry I got off on that topic, but The Monuments Men is really just an absolutely sensational film, and of course the score is done by one of my favorite modern day composers, Alexander Desplat. Excuse me, I will get his name right. It's not Andre, it's Alexander. I absolutely adore him. I just think that he provides such an apt background music for the entire film, and it's very appropriate, and it mirrors the mood and the trepidation, the heartfelt moments, and also the patriotic moments, the military air, and I really like the soundtrack quite a bit. I found it very enjoyable and extremely telling, even if more so than the story itself. And the music, I think, is the character, and I've always loved music for this reason, and it's why I collect soundtracks. Maybe someday I can actually have that soundtrack, who knows. I have to say, I really didn't find any qualms about this film. They got all of their historical facts right. I've been reading quite a few books about the war. I'm more interested in Italy's involvement, as well as Russia and Japan. Of course, it was only Italy, more so Russia in this case, and Germany, duh, because it's Hitler stealing the works of art for obvious reasons, and you figure out what that is. And of course, I've looked into information on Poland. There isn't quite that much information on Poland, only that they were walloped, and we all know that because Warsaw was the first place that was stormed by the Nazis. I was trying to think if they had anything on France. Well, France got trounced, but they didn't bomb France because France was where most of the artwork had been kept, but everything that was presented here was absolutely 100% right on the dot. It's me to a T. I was very impressed, and maybe some of the events had been hyperbolated a little bit. Perhaps, of course, a lot of movies do that, but I don't really care. It's just the whole idea of this movie is camaraderie, people working together, forming friendships, becoming a band of brothers, and then working for something. Part of their integrity really is shown in this most resilient of ways, and it's absolutely resplendent, because what they do is they overcome their differences, and they go out of their way to retrieve priceless works of art. Nobody else would do this. I mean, they knew it was a suicide mission, and they didn't know if any of them were going to come back alive or not, because it was a very small number of people. They only had 9 people in this small brigade. I can't even call it a brigade. I guess you could call it a troop. I don't even know how many people are even in a troop. I know it's less than a brigade and less than a company. Ugh. But yeah, there are specific numbers to these things, and I don't recall what they are. But it actually shows where our priorities lie as a capitalistic society, and I'm just going, oh, why? We're more concerned with caches of gold than we are with priceless works of art. But actually, you're finding this is not the truth anymore, because such things are our heritage, and it's just part of who we are. It's all about creativity and expression, and the ability to portray something on canvas that normal people would not be able to do. And a poet like myself would be able to see this very easily. Sorry, I mean, I sounded really arrogant. Ugh. Bad alchemist. But I give the movie itself 2 thumbs way up and 5 stars hands down. It is by far one of the best films I've seen about World War II. I have all my favorites, of course. My top is, of course, Saving Private Ryan, and then I would say from there on it would be Flags of Our Fathers, Letters to Iwo Jima, The Black and the Red, which is about Italy, Hiding Place, which is about Corrie ten Boom. Highly recommend. Of course, Anne Frank. The Diary of Anne Frank, you have to see it. Boy in Striped Pajamas, I would put that up there as well, even though I can't watch it ever again. Schindler's List, of course, you have to place that in that list. Defiance, which is about the Russian part of the conflict, as the 2 brothers led the Jews that they had rescued through Belarus to keep them safe from the Nazis. They actually killed single-handedly a small group of Nazis at the time. I have the book, and the book is actually much more detailed, but the movie is just as good, and maybe even better, because I like to have a visual representation as well as a physical representation of what occurred. Let me see. Oh goodness, there are so many different movies I enjoy. I think the most recent would be The Book Thief. Even though it's a fictitious account, still really tremendous film, very heart-rending, and just a beautiful representation of humanity and friendship in the midst of war. And it's just a grand film. And this film is similar. It's in the same vein, and you just get so much joy out of watching it, and I felt very enlightened, and I felt so much happier after seeing it. And yeah, I did cry a few times. I'm not going to say about what scenes I actually cried in, but I cry in movies like this, and I love World War II films. I mean, they're among my favorites. I just like war films in general, but World War II is my biggest expertise. And the reason I say this is because I actually have a connection with World War II. And my connection is that my uncle was involved in Normandy as well as in Okinawa, so he served in both theaters. He was aboard an LST. He had the chance to board another scow, which he never did. I never understood that, because I've actually stood on board an LST. They're like sardines inside, no air conditioning. Absolutely none. And I don't know how they didn't commit mutiny on each other every day, because they were in that same space all the time. And my uncle was a medic, so he kept his journals and he drew in them, and he has a zany sense of humor. Sadly, I never got a chance to meet my uncle, because according to the death warrant, he committed suicide, because he took a bunch of quinines with alcohol, which you never do. It's fatal, duh. But I don't believe that. I just don't think that my Uncle Hugh would have committed suicide. No, I think he had too much integrity for that, and I think he was actually crying out for help, and he probably had PTSD and didn't want to talk to anybody about it, because a lot of people do. Another one of the people I know that does have this, I don't know if you call it PSTD or what it is, but my uncle, I'll say my zio Giovanni, he's born in Genoa. He's originally from Genoa, Italy. He was there when the Germans came in, and of course they were ill-prepared and ill-armed. He actually saw Clara Petacci and Mussolini hung at the petrol station. He was in the mob. Yeah. And when I heard that, I got shivers up my spine. I thought, I mean, I literally had one of those moments. I thought, oh my dear God, how could you even survive seeing all that? It must have been absolutely abhorrent. And I never got that out of my head. But that's why World War II is so close to me, and why my Zio Giovanni, even though he's related by marriage, that's why I love him so much, and I love talking to him about World War II. And even though he doesn't like discussing it too much, he taught me that, fun fact, the word banco actually is Italian, and it originally meant bench. And at the time when the banco was invented, they had Jews that were buying and selling at the time, and they were very savvy in their money investing, and of course we all know that. But they basically invented the bank from banco, and they made it their own. And I guess word got out that some unscrupulous business dealings had gone down somewhere, and it really wasn't anybody's fault. And that's actually what created Kristallnacht. So a lot of people don't like admitting to that, but I thought, yeah, you're exactly right. Just bad rumors going around, and superstition, and backstabbing, and gossip was what began Kristallnacht. And this is all all information I didn't have before, but it's in my mind palace, so I can easily access it whenever I want. And I have a book full of information on Italy, mostly Italy. Mussolini, he had an actually very interesting life. Of course, I got some information on Frida Kahlo's lover, who was part of Stalin's, I forget what his name was, but he was part of Stalin's, he was one of Stalin's closest confidants and trusted of Stalin, and he was kind of I don't remember his name, sorry, but he was sort of a bon vivant, and as well as a lady killer. A lot of Russians were, including Stalin. What else can I say other than I know a Cossack whose father was a Cossack and whose grandfather was a Cossack before him, so I get a lot of information about the red versus the white. And I'm always learning something new every day. But it's just insane how much information I have on World War II, so that's why I'm so enamored of it, even though war is hell. That's basically all I have to say about the Monuments Men, and I know it got mixed reviews, but if you're interested in it, and just even for the cast itself, they all did such a splendid job. They were all absolutely magnificent. I just think that they all deserve the highest of kudos and the biggest of rewards, and maybe they'll get an Oscar next year. I don't know. I'm hoping that they do, because they didn't. They were going to release this film during Christmas, but they didn't. They pushed it into February, which I think was absolutely brilliant and a very innovative move on our very lucrative move. We'll see what it produces, if anything. But for the moment, it's getting a lot of criticism, and I just don't think it deserves that. I just think it's another gem, and it just teaches such a good lesson about how important art truly is, as well as friendship.